Welcome. Every stock chart tells a story of fear, of greed, and sometimes just plain indecision. Today, we're going to be technical storytellers. We're going to dive in and decode the charts of 5 completely different stocks. Each one is at a really unique point in its journey, and we're going to break down exactly what the data is telling us. Okay, so here's our roadmap. We're going to look at a bearish trend that's got a little twist, a stock that's trying to carve out a bottom, a completely wild bull run, one that's just quietly building up steam, and finally, an aggressive breakout. 5 totally distinct pictures. Let's get right into it. All right, first up, we've got Dvlt, and the chart here shows a classic conflict, a real tug of war. For a while now, the sellers have been in charge, pushing that price down. But there's one key indicator that's starting to flash a little sign of hope for the buyers. It's a technical battleground, for sure. And this price? This is the very center of that battle. At the time we looked at this, the stock closed at 0.912, which is sitting right on a critical technical pivot point. Now, this isn't just some random price. It's a level where the next big move, whether it's up or down, could really be decided. So what's so fascinating here is the massive contradiction we're seeing. I mean, look at this. On one side, you've got the MACD indicator deep in negative territory, which basically confirms the bears are in control. But on the other side, the stochastic oscillator, well, it's pretty much screaming oversold. And that's often a classic signal that the selling pressure is just about exhausted and a bounce could be right around the corner. So what does this all mean for the stock? Well, the analysis says the main trend is still bearish, but you've got this rebound potential lurking. And that makes these specific price levels absolutely critical. If it breaks below that support at about 83 cents, well, that confirms the bears are still running the show. But if it holds here and starts to bounce, that rebound scenario comes right into play, with the first big test way up at 115. Okay, on to our next story, GPUs. And this chart tells a totally different tale. This isn't about an active fight. It's more like the quiet aftermath of one. We're seeing those first little green shoots of a potential recovery after a really long, tough downtrend. Now, this price, about 27 cents, might not look like much, but it's way more significant than you'd think. Why? Because it marks a close above the stock's short-term 20-day moving average. After being stuck below it for so long, crossing back over is one of the very first technical clues that the whole personality of the stock might be changing for the better. In this table, it just lays it all out perfectly. The RSI, which measures momentum, has climbed back over 50. That tells us buyers are starting to show some interest. The MACD is basically flat, meaning selling pressure has pretty much vanished. But look at the ADX. It's super low. That means there's no real trend yet. It's kind of the technical version of the calm before the storm, a period of consolidation. So the big takeaway here is that it really looks like GPUS is carefully building a base. The chart is suggesting that the 25-cent level is a key floor of support. The next big test for the bulls is that 50-day average, right around 30 cents. A failure to hold 22 cents, though, well, that would put this whole recovery story in doubt. All right, let's shift gears dramatically. Our third story, Sidu, is nothing like the others. This isn't about conflict or a slow recovery. No, this is the story of a full-blown, supercharged, straight-up rally. We're looking at what happens when buyers take complete, absolute control. And this price, $4.21, isn't just a number on a screen. On the chart, it looks like a nearly vertical line. It's an explosive move that has happened so fast that it's left all its recent price history in the dust. And hey, to really put that move into perspective, just look at this. The current price is sitting way up here at $4.21, while its own 20-day average price, its recent history, is all the way down at $1.60. The price is more than double its recent average. This is exactly what analysts call a parabolic or a blue sky breakouts. But with that kind of incredible power comes incredible risk, and the analysis is practically screaming a warning at us here. The relative strength index, the RSI, is at 80.50. Now, anything over 70 is considered overbought. Over 80, that's extreme territory. It's a huge clue that the buying is probably overheated and a correction is likely. So for Sidu, the big word here is caution. The trend is unbelievably strong, no doubt about it, but the risk of a really sharp pullback is just as high. The analysis points out that the price is trading way outside its upper Bollinger Band. That's a measure of volatility, which often signals a move has gone too far, too fast. The real question now is if buyers will be brave enough to step in again if the stock pulls back to a lower level. Phew! Okay, after all that excitement with Sidu, let's take a look at UAVS, which is in a much quieter and more methodical phase. This is what analysts call an accumulation or stabilization period. It's where a stock is just quietly building a foundation, maybe for a future move. The stock closed at $1.12. At this price, it's just kind of hovering right above its key short-term moving average. It's not a dramatic move at all, but it is a small little sign of strength. It shows us that buyers are at least holding the line right now. I love this slide because it just perfectly captures a stock that's in total balance. The RSI is sitting almost exactly at 50, which is the very definition of neutral. The MACD, while it's still negative, has gone completely flat, telling us that selling pressure has just evaporated. But notice that the stochastic oscillator is just starting to creep up, giving a little tactical buy signal for a potential swing to the upside. So with UAVS, the story is really all about patience and watching these defined levels. The verdict is clear. It's accumulating. The strategy here suggests that as long as the price can stay above that key 106 level, the bulls have a solid case. The first major hurdle and potential target would be that 50-day average up at 131. And for our final story today, we've got LVRO. This one is so fascinating because it feels like it takes the quiet past of UAS and combines it with the explosive present we just saw in SIDU. This is the story of an aggressive breakout coming out of nowhere. And this price, $1.20, is absolutely critical. Why? Well, because for a very long time, that $1 mark was a massive ceiling. It was a psychological barrier and a technical one. So for LVRO to break decisively above it, that's a really big deal. So let's break down the play-by-play of how this happened. First, the stock was just asleep, no trend to speak of. Then, boom, a sudden explosion in price. It doesn't just clear that critical $1 level, but now, just like we saw with CDU, it's trading above its upper Bollinger Band. This signals some serious short-term strength and maybe, just maybe, a brand new trend is being born. So what's the bottom line here? Well, while this breakout is incredibly powerful, it also comes with a big dose of what traders call chase risk. A really crucial test will be what happens on a potential pullback. If the stock can come back down to that old resistance around $1 and prove that it can hold it as new support, that would signal a much stronger foundation for a continued move higher. So there you have it, a downtrend locked in a conflict, a slow and steady recovery from the bottom, an overheated parabolic rally, a quiet stock just building its base, and an aggressive breakout into brand new territory. 5 completely different technical stories, all told through the language of charts and indicators. This analysis gives us a fantastic snapshot in time, right? It's a roadmap of probabilities and key levels we have to watch. But as it says here, it's not a crystal ball. The next chapter for each of these 5 stories is still waiting to be written by the market. Thanks for watching.